Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 29 based on novel. So let's start. Teng Shan's body was pathetically embedded in the ground while deep cracks spread in all directions. The entire place was in a stunned state. Many pairs of eyes were filled with a great shock as they observed this scene. Teng Shan had actually lost? Everyone looked at each other and saw the unconcealable shock in each other's eyes. Who could have imagined that the black tortoise pillar-wielding Teng Shan, who was famous for his defense, would have his defense blasted apart by Little Flame in a direct clash? This was something that those super experts, who were also at the Samsara stage, had difficulty achieving. Commander Yang is so powerful. The silence continued for a long time, before someone finally regained his wits and involuntarily praised in his heart. Little Flame had beaten a Samsara stage super expert with his perfect profound death stage strength. This news would likely cause Little Flame's name to spread far and wide. He actually won. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio were also dumbstruck. Soon after, their expressions quickly became unusually strange. None of them had thought that the first amongst their group to be victorious was not the three of them, who were Samsara stage super experts, but Little Flame, who was still at the perfect profound death stage. Although the overwhelming power that Little Flame had displayed earlier was not weaker than them, it was still very difficult to defeat Teng Shan. Yet, who could imagine that Teng Shan's strongest defense would be so swiftly broken by Little Flame? What exactly was that black bead? The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio looked at each other. The black light that had erupted from the black bead earlier was filled with an indescribable erosion power. It was akin to darkness that could cover the world, eroding every trace of light present. Lin Dong faintly smiled but did not give any explanation. The black bead was naturally the darkness devil-suppressing bead that he had obtained from the Darkness Master. He still had two of them left after solving the problem of the Devil Sea. Earlier, Lin Dong had handed one to Little Flame, enabling the latter to win this fight. After winning one round, our result is now 2 losses, 1 draw and 1 win. It seems that the final round will determine the overall result. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander looked towards Lin Dong. After which, he glanced at the strongest person of the Mang Mountain contingent, who had similarly not fought yet. Finally, he laughed bitterly and said in a low voice, "Brother Lin Dong, we can already be proud after winning 1 round against Mang Mountain. No one will say anything even if we lose today. After all, Mang Mountain was powerful, while Fort Titan's Palace was merely a newly established alliance. The former's reputation had long spread far and wide, and from a certain point of view, this fight could be said to be unfair. Yet, Fort Titan's Palace still managed to win 1 round in this unfair situation, a fact that was more than enough to prove their strength. Hence, others would likely not be able to say much about such a result." By the side, the Golden Ape Demon Commander duo nodded. There was still one last round in this 5-round match. However, they had basically lost. Even if they fantasized that Lin Dong could really exceed expectations and end this match in a draw, for Titan's Palace would still lose. It is not over yet. Why be in such a hurry to admit defeat? Lin Dong chuckled. He paused before he pursed lips and said, "If I win the last round, we should be able to end this Sky Battle Arena fight in a draw, right?" Lin Dong felt his surroundings become rather quiet after he had uttered these words. He tilted his head and found the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio looking at him in a dazed manner. A moment later, they recovered and quickly laughed awkwardly. "Brother Lin Dong, that mysterious King Luo Tong is the strongest amongst the 5 kings of Mang Mountain. Furthermore, he is from the 9 Phoenix tribe, meaning his battle power is even more so not to be underestimated. It will not be a simple feat to beat him." Lin Dong understood upon hearing this. Looks like they did not have much hope in such a possibility. After all, even Lin Dong had to admit that the mysterious king's reputation preceded itself. Although Lin Dong's strength had progressed to the peak of the advanced profound death stage, there was still a huge disparity between them. Such a disparity was obviously not easy to make up for. Of course if Brother Lin Dong can really defeat Luo Tong, this Sky Battle Arena will end in a draw. At that time, Mang Mountain can only withdraw, and the danger that our Four Titans Palace is facing will also be resolved. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander laughed. Of course, you should also be careful, Brother Lin Dong. It is fine to admit defeat if you cannot continue fighting. Losing to Mang Mountain is not embarrassing for us at all. I will do my best. Lin Dong slowly nodded. He lifted his head to look at the figure at the very front of the Mang Mountain contingent as he slowly clenched his hand. It had not been easy for him to establish Four Titans Palace. If they were to suffer from such a blow again, all of his earlier efforts would be for naught. This was obviously not something that he wanted to see. Big brother. Little Flame returned under the attention of the gazes that seemed to fill the sky. There were still some remnant traces of blood on his face which now glowed with excitement. At long last, he had managed to get back some face in this match against Mang Mountain. Not bad. Lin Dong laughed. No one could find fault with Little Flame's earlier performance. Big brother, I'm afraid that we will have to depend on you next. Little Flame's lips parted into a grin. In contrast with the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander and the rest, Little Flame had an unshakable confidence in Lin Dong. Even though mysterious King Luo Tong was Mang Mountain's strongest, he did not believe that the mere peak advanced profound death stage Lin Dong would lose. By the side, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander and the rest could only secretly laugh bitterly. It was obvious that they did not understand where this confidence of Little Flame's originated from. However, Lin Dong did not say much with respect to this. He patted Little Flame's arm and stepped forward soon after, appearing on the enormous stage as a pair of black eyes looked in the direction of the Mang Mountain contingent. The plains, which has previously turned noisy due to Teng Shan's defeat, once again returned to silence. Many pairs of eyes stared at the skinny figure with an indescribable expression. After experiencing how Little Flame had turned around the fight earlier, it was likely that no one would underestimate those two from Deep Lightning Mountain. Moreover, being observers, they were naturally happy to see many twists and turns on the Sky Battle arena. They really wished to know if the newly born Four Titans Palace would be able to borrow this battle to rise up in power in the face of the pressure from Mang Mountain, or would it simply flash and disappear like a comet? It is unexpected that this Four Titans Palace does possess some ability. Teng Feng instructed some men to quickly help Teng Shan back. When he gazed upon the latter's miserable appearance, his face became unusually dark. Originally, they would have been able to crush Four Titans Palace as long as they won this fight. Yet, this outcome had exceeded their expectations. The black bead he threw earlier is very strange. Teng Shan clenched his teeth. His defense was extremely strong, and was even the best amongst the four of them. However, it was still completely shattered by the black light. There is no need to find any excuses for your defeat. Luo Tong had an indifferent expression. He slowly stepped forward. However, it doesn't matter. I shall personally extinguish this tiny hope that has appeared. I rather like doing things that causes others to despair. By the side, Teng Feng's group nodded. Soon after, they venomously stared at the skinny figure on the stage and sneered, "This fellow is really unlucky." All of them were aware that even though Luo Tong might appear gentle, his techniques were the most vicious amongst them. With him fighting, it was likely that this fellow called Lin Dong would not have any chances of withdrawing in one piece. All the eyes in the sky gathered on Luo Tong as he slowly stepped forward. He lifted his head and those indifferent eyes of his stared at Lin Dong. Soon after, his body moved. He was already on the huge stage when he appeared again. Lin Dong gazed the green-clothed Luo Tong in front of him as his body gradually became tense. It was possible for him to detect a trace of danger from the latter's body. I never show mercy when fighting with others. However, I will always give my opponent a single chance before I fight. Voluntarily choose to surrender or, Luo Tong's eyes were still fixed on Lin Dong as the corners of his mouth slowly lifted into an icy arc. Die? After this word was emitted, everyone could feel an alarming murderous intent suddenly spread from Luo Tong's body. Can you tell me what is your choice? Luo Tong's scarlet tongue slowly licked his lips. He stared at Lin Dong in a sinisterly cold fashion, like a cat toying with a mouse. Lin Dong's black eyes similarly stared at Luo Tong. A smile quickly appeared on his young face. You really say a lot of nonsense. Those who were originally awaiting for Lin Dong's choice could not help but let out a stifled laughter. This person actually dared to anger Luo Tong at such a time. What a reckless one. Nevertheless, this was quite entertaining. Razor-tongue brat. The eyelids of Tong Feng's group involuntarily twitched. This brat was courting death. Luo Tong's face was still impassive. He did not appear to have been angered by Lin Dong. He merely nodded before a pair of hands was slowly extended from his sleeve while arcs of light started to jump between his 10 fingers. You will regret it. Bang! In an instant, a storm-like brilliance suddenly unfurled from within Luo Tong's body. Vast yuan power that could seemingly fill the sky was contained within the light. The entire world seemed to have become a lot brighter at this moment. However, there was a scent of death bubbling under this brilliance. Clearly, the strongest mysterious King Luo Tong of Mang Mountain now truly intended to kill. Lin Dong gazed upon the overwhelming aura in front of him and deeply inhaled a breath of air. His expression slowly became grave. Soon after, the skin of his body gradually turned crystal-like. Roar? A low and deep dragon roar, which seemed to originate from the ancient times, quietly resounded from within Lin Dong's body. His skeleton seemed to squirm at this moment as a tremendous unprecedented power galloped within his body like a torrent. Bang! Both of Lin Dong's hands abruptly clenched tightly while his pair of pitch-black eyes became exceptionally sharp at this moment. The strength that belonged to the primal dragon bone was finally revealed. Let's see if you have the ability to destroy me. A clear dragon roar erupted from within Lin Dong's body. Subsequently, it reverberated across the sky. Bright green light enveloped around the surface of his body, before a powerful pressure radiated from him. Dragon Tribe Martial Arts? A slight tinge of shock flashed across Luo Tong's eyes after he heard that dragon roar. Promptly, he shook his head. It's no wonder this brat was so arrogant. He had actually learnt Dragon Tribe Martial Arts. However, did he really think that he could act haughtily in front of him because of this? Even if a genuine Dragon Tribe elder is standing in front of me today, he would not dare to be as arrogant as you. You are only a human who has learnt Dragon Tribe Martial Arts. What gives you the qualifications to act so haughtily? Luo Tong let out a cold ridicule. His eyes were dense and cold. Soon after, he clenched his large hand. Immediately, brilliant yuan power gathered in the sky like floodwaters. In a few breaths' time, they transformed into a huge brilliant pair of glowing wings. The edge of these wings were covered with saw teeth and even the space itself began to tremble as the light flowed. Luo Tong curled his finger. His brilliant glowing wings, which were filled with danger, whistled forward. In a flash, it penetrated through space and ruthlessly shot explosively towards Lin Dong. Boom! Lin Dong snorted coldly in his heart after he saw Luo Tong unleashing his attack. Stomping his foot onto the ground, the stage promptly shook. Following which, resplendent green light swept forth and it was possible to see many green dragon-like tattoos emerging from within his body. 300. The green dragon-like tattoos rose. Shockingly, in the blink of an eye, there were 300 of them. It turns out that Lin Dong's green heaven materialized dragon skill was upgraded as his strength improved. Right now, Lin Dong was able to rely on his own strength to form 300 green dragon-like tattoos. When he fought with the Hua Chen duo back at the Flame Divine Hall, Lin Dong had to rely on the strength of his Great Desolation scripture in order to form 300 green dragon-like tattoos. Lin Dong did not dare to underestimate Luo Tong, troublesome opponent, whose strength had far surpassed that of Hua Chen. After all, the latter's strength far exceeded his regardless of how one puts it. Hence, he had to go all out in order to defeat the latter. Bang! 300 green dragon-like tattoos came whistling forth. Lin Dong did not make any unnecessary movements as he merely took a step forward. Soon after, he threw a punch. This was an ordinary punch. All it contained was a terrifying force which could easily destroy an entire mountain. The air across the sky exploded due to the terrifying pressure from the energy. 300 green dragon-like tattoos gathered together to form a ferocious green light dragon, which tore through the sky. Finally, it ruthlessly collided against the sharp and unusually bright glowing wings. Bang! A terrifying loud sound reverberated before a powerful assault wave spread. It was just like a hurricane blew through the world, as layers of soil on the ground were blown away. Countless pairs of eyes turned to look. Their eyes were filled with a grave expression. Such a fight was indeed frightening. I shall return you the favor. The bright light that enveloped the stage gradually disappeared. Lin Dong, whose body was wrapped within a green light, slowly appeared. He stared at Luo Tong, who was standing in front of him, before he laughed coldly. After which, his fist smashed ruthlessly against the ground. A 10,000 feet large crack extended like a huge python and it reached Luo Tong's feet instantly. Subsequently, green light erupted forth like a volcano eruption. Then, a green light large dragon attempted to devour Luo Tong. This favor is far too insignificant. Luo Tong's eyes were icy cold. Without making any visible movements, a brilliant assault light wave rose from within his body and shattered the large green light dragon. A Samsara stage expert was indeed extraordinary. Even though Lin Dong had become much stronger, his formidable attacks could still be easily dealt with by the latter. However, a phantom-like figure appeared in front of Luo Tong just as the large green light dragon collapsed. A thunder sounded before a long spear with lightning flickering over it pierced towards Luo Tong's throat in an extremely ruthless fashion. Humph! However, Luo Tong simply let out a cold snort when up against this swift attack. He pressed his finger forward before a brilliant light spread. It once again turned into a glowing feather that blocked the piercing lightning spear attack. Lin Dong's body moved after his attack was blocked and he actually transformed into many afterimages. His spear danced before many sharp spear shadows, which could easily kill a perfect profound death stage expert, enveloped every lethal spot on Luo Tong's body. Clang clang clang. Clear noises continuously reverberated across the stage. Everyone could only see a blurry figure circling Luo Tong like a whirlwind. Countless sharp spear shadows came piercing forward. However, brilliant glowing feathers would appear to block these attacks each time they were about to touch Luo Tong's body. One of them was continuously raining down blows like a thunderstorm, while the other was as stable as a mountain. Every attack was intercepted by him without a single movement. Are your attacks merely of this standard? You can't even break my defenses, yet you dare to challenge me. Luo Tong stared at the many afterimages as the smirk on his face grew increasingly intense. Lin Dong acted as though he did not hear Luo Tong's ridicule as his attacks became increasingly fearsome. However, no one realized that as Lin Dong became increasingly focused, the bones within his body also began to wiggle. It looked as though an ancient dragon, which had been in a slumber for 10,000 years, was finally awakening. Clang! Another clear sound appeared. Luo Tong extended his fingers before he directly grabbed the tip of the spear. A brilliant light flickered on the tip of his fingers, preventing the long spear from moving. An arrogant fool that does not know his limits. Luo Tong gripped that long spear, while his eyes were filled with a cold ridicule as he stared at the human on the other end of the spear. However, all he saw were a pair of deep dark eyes, with a purple-gold luster rising within them. That luster was filled with a frightening and icy cold sensation. Those eyes with a purple-gold glint stared back at Luo Tong in an icy cold fashion. In the next moment, Lin Dong's body shook. Following which, he directly approached Luo Tong's body and slammed his palm forward. Roar! The primal dragon bone in Lin Dong's body suddenly shook after he threw his palm forward. After which, vast and mighty energy surged forth. 300 dragon-like tattoos came whistling out from within Lin Dong's body. However, the color of these dragon-like tattoos had changed from green to purple-gold this time around. 300 purple-gold dragon-like tattoos came whistling forth. They roared towards the sky and the pressure radiating from them was several times more frightening than that of the green dragon-like tattoos that Lin Dong had in the past. This was the transformation after his bones were replaced by the primal dragon bone. Bang! The space in front of Lin Dong split apart and formed a huge black crack line. Meanwhile, Luo Tong's expression finally changed at this moment. This attack from Lin Dong was several times more powerful compared to his previous attacks. 9 Phoenix Sky Feather Shield. A low and deep cry suddenly escaped Luo Tong's mouth. Bright light surged and rapidly turned into a feather shield that was formed by countless glowing feathers. A rich life-death chi lingered over his shield, and there was a shockingly sturdy strength spreading from it. However, Lin Dong's attack did not pause because of this. In fact, the purple-gold glint in his eyes became even more intense. Many roars erupted from within the primal dragon bone in his body. The roars reverberated within Lin Dong's body, before they finally turned into a vast and mighty force, which surged onto Lin Dong's palm. The color of the 300 purple-gold dragon light tattoos became deeper and purer. The dragon palm, which was nearly completely purple-gold in color, solemnly smashed against the feather shield. When they made contact, everyone could feel their hearts pounding intensely. Soon after, an indescribable energy assault wave swept out from within the square. The stage, which was tens of thousands of feet in size, collapsed instantly. The assault wave swept over while countless pairs of eyes stared firmly at the source. Soon after, an onlooker's pupils suddenly shrunk. Following which, one could hear a clear cracking sound being emitted, before a figure shot out miserably over 10,000 feet from the source of the energy assault wave. However, the figure forcefully steadied himself just as he was about to make contact with the ground. Clamor. Many pairs of eyes looked at the figure, who had nearly crashed onto the ground. Promptly, waves of uproar suddenly erupted, while their eyes held great disbelief. This was because the person, who had nearly crashed onto the ground in defeat, was actually Luo Tong. Lin Dong had actually broken Luo Tong's defenses during the previous clash. What a formidable fellow! Some onlookers exchanged glances with each other. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. For a peak advanced profound death stage practitioner to break the defenses of a samsara stage expert in a head-on clash, just how terrifying must that attack be? These two individuals from the deep lightning mountain were indeed extraordinary. Lin Dong's body slowly appeared in midair. The color of the light present on his body had changed from green to purple gold. The light gathered behind him and seemed to form a huge purple gold dragon, which stretched on endlessly. The large dragon lowered its head while its icy cold eyes overlooked every living creature. Its frightening pressure caused the breathing of countless experts to become ragged. No one had expected that this unique pressure, which was only possessed by a member of the dragon tribe, would show up on a human. Moreover, the purity of this pressure had even far exceeded those top experts in the dragon tribe. Teng Feng's group had an extremely solemn expression on their faces at this moment. Clearly, they detected a whiff of danger from Lin Dong's body. A soft cough sounded from the horizon. A miserable-looking Luo Tong, who had nearly crashed onto the ground, extended his hand before he slowly wiped off a trace of blood on the corner of his lips. Subsequently, he lifted his head. His eyes stared at the distant Lin Dong, before he parted his lips. However, his smile was filled with a brutal killing intent. I have already thought highly of you. Yet, I still end up suffering. However, I will no longer give you such an opportunity. A brilliant light gradually rose in Luo Tong's eyes after his words sounded. Immediately, a frightening murderous intent swept out from him. Soon after, he clenched his hand abruptly. After which, the bodies of the Teng Feng's group suddenly jerked, before 4 light pillars whistled out and landed beside Luo Tong. The 4 divine beast immortal suppression pillars were now completely under his control. Clearly, Luo Tong was finally planning to unleash his signature killing move. 4 light pillars floated around Luo Tong's body, before powerful pressurizing waves radiated from them. The 4 divine beast immortal suppression pillars were all in Luo Tong's hands at this moment. Previously, Teng Feng's group had merely relied on 4 divine beast immortal suppression pillars each in order to defeat the Golden Ape Demon Commander duo. Yet, all 4 pillars were reunited at this moment. Hence, the true might of the 4 divine beast immortal suppression pillars would be completely unleashed. This brat, he is actually able to force Luo Tong to use every 4 divine beast immortal suppression pillar. Teng Feng's group had somewhat grave expressions when they saw this scene. Soon after, they chuckled. Since this fight has played out like this, there would no longer be any suspense in the subsequent fight. The expressions of the distant Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's group also became quite ugly at this moment. To begin with, Luo Tong's strength had far surpassed Lin Dong's. Hence, they had never expected that Luo Tong actually had to use every 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillar in order to deal with the latter. Relax, Big Brother will not be defeated so easily. Compared to the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's group, Little Flame was much calmer. Even though he was well aware of just how powerful Lin Dong's opponent was, Little Flame had complete blind faith in him. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio exchanged glances with each other, before the anxiety in their hearts diminished slightly. From the way Lin Dong and Luo Tong fought previously, it was clear that the former's strength had surged over these past 2 months. Hence, based on the fact that Lin Dong actually dared to fight head-on with the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander 2 months ago, it was likely that the current him was even stronger. Under the attention from countless onlookers, Luo Tong's expression was as calm as still water. However, there was a venomous glint flashing in his eyes. He stared at Lin Dong before he suddenly clenched his hand. The 4 light pillars quickly gathered together after Luo Tong clenched his hand. After which, they directly turned into a huge stone pillar with 4 different colors. 4 light images entwined around the pillars while an exceptionally powerful ripple was emitted. That ripple was clearly much more powerful than the ones given off by any one of the 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars from before. Let's end it. Luo Tong's eyes were like blades as he stared at Lin Dong. Soon after, a sinister voice spread. Without further ado, he waved his sleeves before the combined, 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars turned into a 4-colored light ray that whistled forward. Everywhere that it passed by, a storm would be stirred. Following which, a formless pressure spread and it actually enveloped the space around Lin Dong. The space became distorted and it blocked off all of Lin Dong's retreat paths, just like a prison cell. The combined 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars showcased their frightening might the moment it appeared. Lin Dong's eyes, which were filled with a purple-gold luster, stared intently at the combined 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars. However, Lin Dong's face did not even contain the slightest panic when up against Luo Tong's attack, which could defeat even an ordinary Samsara stage expert. Instead, he had a slightly mysterious expression. Ancient divine object, huh? The corner of Lin Dong's lip seemed to have twitched, before a strange smile appeared as he muttered, "This divine object is powerful indeed. However, it is not very effective against me." Lin Dong extended his hand after he spoke. After which, light gathered in his palm before a miniature hall appeared. After the miniature hall appeared, a strange ripple began to spread. This miniature hall was clearly the mysterious Divine Palace, which was ranked 10th on the Ancient Divine Object ranking. The mysterious Divine Palace emitted a buzzing sound the moment it appeared. After which, everyone saw that hall rapidly expanding. In the blink of an eye, it became 10,000 feet in size. Soon after, a creaking sound appeared as its doors slowly opened up. The combined 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars, which was rushing over, emitted a chaotic ripple when the doors of that hall opened up. When Luo Tong saw this unusual change, his expression changed immediately while uneasiness rose in his heart. Bang! The mysterious Divine Palace was finally fully opened. Immediately, tens of thousands of light rays shot out from within. Those overbearing light rays shot out of the large hall and transformed into countless chains. The chains rushed forward and entwined around the combined 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars that was charging towards it. Many light chains entwined around the combined 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars. The extremely wild and violent energy which was originally on the latter's body began to disappear in a peculiar fashion. In fact, it looked as though all the energy on it was being suppressed by the many strange light chains. Moreover, while the combined 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars was being suppressed, a powerful suction force gushed out from within the large hall. After which, the combined 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars swayed as it moved closer towards the large hall. This scene caused many onlookers to be stunned. Originally, they thought that the fight would swiftly end after Luo Tong unleashed his 4 Divine Beast Immortal Suppression Pillars. Yet, who could have imagined such a bizarre turn of events? You? Luo Tong's expression changed drastically. He could feel that as his combined, for divine beast immortal suppression pillars, moved closer to the mysterious divine palace, his control over it gradually weakened. Using an ancient divine object ranked beneath the mysterious divine palace in front of the latter, is not a wise move. Lin Dong smiled towards an angry-looking Luo Tong. He changed his hand seal before the light chains entwined around the combined for divine beast immortal suppression pillars actually began to wiggle. After which, they transformed into many mysterious symbols. However, the instant these symbols were formed, Luo Tong's control over the four divine beast immortal suppression pillars was severed immediately. The four divine beast immortal suppression pillars no longer struggled after Luo Tong lost control of them. Instead, while being wrapped by tens of thousands of light rays, it directly charged into the mysterious divine palace in front of many stunned onlookers. The doors of the mysterious divine palace were subsequently shut. The mysterious divine palace once again turned into the size of a palm and landed in Lin Dong's palm. However, the mysterious divine palace was currently shaking. Clearly, it was trying its best to suppress the four divine beast immortal suppression pillars that it had just captured. Ha ha, thank you for the gift. Lin Dong flipped his palm before the mysterious divine palace in his hand vanished. After which, he looked at Luo Tong, who appeared to be at a loss, and smilingly said. The entire plains became a little quieter at this moment. Standing behind him, Teng Feng and the rest were stunned. After all, this ending was simply a little too comical. The four divine beast immortal suppression pillars was simply taken away by Lin Dong? The mysterious divine palace possessed the ability to refine divine objects. Moreover, it also possesses a suppressive force against the many divine objects that are ranked beneath it. It is unexpected that Lin Dong is able to control the mysterious divine palace to such a shocking extent. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commanders group were also stunned. That was because they had some understanding of the mysterious divine palace, and they knew that one had to have a shocking level of mastery over the mysterious divine palace in order to use it to suppress and subjugate other powerful ancient divine objects. However, it has only been 2 months since Lin Dong obtained the mysterious divine palace. Of course, these people, who did not understand Lin Dong, did not know that the latter had came into contact with the spirit of the mysterious divine palace, and did not need to expend any effort in order to control it. An example was the subjugation that occurred previously. It was completely the will of the mysterious divine palace itself, and Lin Dong merely helped to direct it. However, the four divine beast immortal suppression pillars was also quite powerful. Although it was taken away by the mysterious divine palace, the latter still had to put in some effort in order to suppress it. Hence, Lin Dong was no longer able to use the mysterious divine palace for now. In the sky, the dazed Luo Tong finally regained his senses. His face quickly turned furious and steely cold. Meanwhile, his body was trembling gently. Clearly, he felt extremely furious in his heart. Another unorthodox method. You truly have many of those. Luo Tong's eyes were incomparably dark and cold as he stared at Lin Dong. Murderous intent surged within his heart like floodwater. After all, Lin Dong's actions have caused him to completely throw his face. Bang! Brutal killing desire swept out from within Luo Tong's body in waves. Soon after, 9 colored light rays shot out from within his body in all directions. Light gathered in the sky behind him and seemed to turn into a huge figure. Behind this light figure were 9 different colored 10,000 feet tails. As they swayed gently with the wind, the yuan power in the world also began to churn violently. What a hateful person! Do you really think that it is going to be so easy to snatch something that belongs to me? Luo Tong's eyes were icy cold. Soon after, he slowly extended 2 fingers and pointed towards Lin Dong. Finally, he pressed his fingers downwards. Lin Dong's pupils shrunk upon witnessing this scene. An indescribable feeling of danger enveloped his entire body. 9 Phoenix Life Transformation Light. Luo Tong's icy cold voice was filled with killing intent as it resounded across the sky. Soon after, 9 colored light swiftly gathered at the tip of his fingers. In the next moment, those 9 color light rays directly penetrated through the empty space and flew towards Lin Dong. Roar! The pores all over Lin Dong's body shrunk at this moment while his body pulled back explosively. Meanwhile, 300 purple gold dragon light tattoos flew forward and ruthless smashed against those 9 colored light rays. The two ferocious attacks clashed. However, what startled Lin Dong was that his attack, which had agglomerated the strength of 300 purple gold dragon light tattoos, was completely vaporized by the 9 colored light rays. It was just like snow meeting lava. The 9 colored light rays were actually this terrifying. Lin Dong unleashed his speed to the limit. As he continued to retreat, that 9 colored light rays continued to chase after him. Meanwhile, the Yuan power in this entire area became wild and violent. Lin Dong rapidly took a turn. The 9 colored light rays followed him and took a turn as well. When they turned, one 9 color light ray accidentally made contact with one of the onlookers. Immediately, that onlooker, who was at the advanced profound death stage, was instantly vaporized without even having the time to let out a miserable screech. Immediately, shock rose in the eyes of countless onlookers upon seeing this scene. Wherever the 9 Phoenix life transformation light of my 9 Phoenix tribe passes by, all flesh and blood shall be vaporized. Luo Tong looked at Lin Dong, who was repeatedly dodging, before joy flashed across his face as he laughed ferociously. I want to see where a mouse like you plans to hide. Purple gold light wrapped around Lin Dong's body. Meanwhile, his expression had also become extremely grave. Luo Tong's technique caused him to feel a rich sense of danger. A samsara stage expert was indeed a being that a profound death stage expert could not contend with. Even though Lin Dong possessed many powerful techniques, he still had great difficulties dealing with him. I want to see whether your 9 Phoenix life transformation light is able to vaporize my primal dragon bone. When Lin Dong saw that he was still unable to shake off those 9 colored light rays after running for a while, a ruthless expression finally rose within his eyes. His body suddenly paused. Then, without any hesitation, he turned his body around and threw a punch forward. After which, he ruthlessly smashed against the 9 colored light rays amidst Luo Tong's ferocious laughter. While the faces of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commanders group turned pale, the 9 colored light rays engulfed Lin Dong instantly. This video will end here.